I'm so grateful for your support, Sonja Soulsations. I was walking recently and I just thought of admiration and comparison, and there definitely is a difference. Admiration for me is when I really respect a characteristic or a gift or words that someone is sharing is very, I find such respect, and I really just take note of that. So there's this admiration, right? I respect it. I like what I hear. I find it fascinating. And I'm grateful that if I find something that's very moving for me, or I find respectable or really powerful, I share my comments and compliments with others. So I'll say, I really love how you talked about this or that, or I love what you're doing, or I really um, am motivated by what you said or what you're doing. So I believe for me that when I admire a quality in someone, I'm very quick to let that person know that, wow, I really like what you said, or wow, you look really beautiful today, or I love, what you're wearing, or I love that fragrance, or I love what you said. So I'm complimenting, and I'm very grateful, and I'm thankful. And I believe that that's something that we should all invite ourselves to do. When we see that sister that is doing well, I feel that we, and I invite you to think about this, should say, wow, you look really good today, or your smile is beautiful. I think when there is an admiration or this respect, or someone moves you in this incredible way, I feel like a thanks and bringing that to their attention is important. Also, I had an opportunity to meditate on comparison, and it's looking at an object or a person or a situation, and then looking at another situation or another person or another object and seeing how they differ, making observations around that. But what I really want to bring up is when, unfortunately, the world and sometimes others will compare oneself to someone else. Like, it moves from being admirable, and it can go to a very toxic place when one is comparing oneself to someone else. Then what happens if it becomes toxic is when one diminishes their capabilities and their gifts and what they're doing. They diminish because it looks different from what someone else is doing. So comparing oneself to another person can be toxic. It can be toxic. So it's good to look and observe and kind of see what aligns and what is different, but be very careful when you begin to diminish how you look, what you do, how you do it, what you have to someone else's, leaning more into being toxic and unhealthy. And the same with admiration. It's wonderful to have respect and share how someone moves you, and to give kudos to someone, but don't do it at the expense that you are diminishing yourself, or wishing that you, or hoping that you could be like someone else and not be yourself. And it's important to remind yourself, and I invite you to remind yourself that you are incredible, you have gifts, you have talent, and you're enough. And you don't have to compare how you do something and think that it's not good or it's not enough or it's not valuable or that it's not worthy because it looks different than an admiration that you have in someone else, or the type of work you do is similar to someone that you know, and maybe their work is on a level where yours isn't, but that doesn't mean that it's not valued, and you're not valued and you're not worthy. So I invite you to be really careful in how you invite admiration and comparison into your life and into your lives. I am thankful, and I don't know where I learned this from, but I've always been one that if I like something, or if I like something about someone, their smile, or the way they wear their hair, or the way they preached, or the lesson they taught, or the way they painted, or the way they showed up, and it moved me in some way, I've just always been one to say, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love what you shared. It moved me. So I am so grateful. I don't know when I learned it. I just know that it's always been with me, that if I see something in someone that I like or admire, I compliment them and I let them know, and I show appreciation. And I feel that's very important. I don't know where I learned it from, but I'm so grateful that I'm okay with letting people know how I feel and what I think of their gifts and their talents, and letting them know that it moved me or it moves me, and or I'm going to process what they said. So I love giving compliments. And I can also remember as a little girl, I didn't have a word for it. So let me just clarify that. When I was a little girl, I didn't have a word for it. As I got older, I could see how I moved as a child in connecting others. Like, I always would do that. Like, if I had a friend, then I wanted another one of my friends to meet this friend, and then kind of, build those friendships. And I noticed that I did that in seminary with study groups, and I did that with some really good friends of mine. I connected these friends that were friends to me. I connected them, and we became friends. And for many years, we met for lunch or dinner. We would talk about just life and what was going on with us, and I named it the Networking Sisters, and we're still friends to this day. We still connect, although not where we were. Of course, we have different interests now, and we're doing different things, and of course we haven't been able to really interconnect like we once did, but we certainly stay in touch, and I love that. And then also just working in ministry and doing things like just being connected with a lot of things that I love doing. I have just always enjoyed sharing what I learned. I'm not one that hoards information. I don't know if you know people like that. But I just felt like if I learned something, I wanted so-and-so to learn it, or I wanted to share it with someone else. And I'm still like that today. It's just on a different level. But if something fascinates me, or something is, like really filling my cup, I want to share it with those that I think will benefit, or at least invite friends and family to check it out. So in closing, or just, wrapping this all up, love who you are. And if that's a challenge for you, I like what Alex L. says. She says this a lot. After the Rain is one of her books, and she has a new book out. And I forgot the name of it, but I'm going to get her book. But one of the things that I constantly hear her in podcasts say, and in her writings, is that you do not have to diminish who you are. Show up as you are, and when you are having difficulty loving yourself, one of the things that she talks about, and not just diminishing who you are, and showing up as you are, she talks about, having a gratitude journal. Like, so if you're having difficulty in loving yourself, or places in your life that are hard, as Alex suggests to so many, including myself, I love when she says, think about the things that you're grateful for. What brings you gratitude? Begin to try. I invite you to think about that, as Alex has invited those of us who listen to her podcast and read her amazing work. What brings gratitude? What are you grateful for? So don't diminish who you are. Make sure that when you are, sharing compliments and giving words of gratefulness to others, that you don't move it into a place where you are in an unhealthy place of diminishing who you are and comparing yourself in an unhealthy way to those that you admire, those that you care about, those that you love. I believe that all of us have different gifts that God has given us, and not all of our gifts are the same, and how we approach our creativity may be similar, but then it can also be different, and it's okay. It's okay. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. In the comment sections, please let me know, how do you define admiration? How do you share with someone that you really like what they're doing? Do you compliment them, or do you withhold giving compliments? And why do you do that? And then, have you ever struggled with comparison? Like comparing what you do, how you look, what you wear, how you show up. Do you compare it to friends or to others? And then as you start doing that, does it get unhealthy for you? Does it become toxic, where it's really diminishing you and making you feel some kind of way? So let me know about that. And thank you so much. You are loved. You are worthy. You are valued. You have so much that others admire in you, and so much that others can learn from you. And I invite you to think about that, process that, and thank you again. Blessings, love, peace, and joy. Thank you for supporting Sonja's Soulsations.